Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating story that completely flips the script on power, legacy, and, well, the lure of absolute temptation. It's the story of a humble Muslim king who was offered what is arguably the ultimate ego boost. You know, we so often think of history's great rulers as the guys who built the biggest, flashiest monuments, but this narrative, it challenges all of that. We're going to break down this one monumental decision he made just to see exactly how the choices of leadership ripple out into the real world and what it truly means to leave a mark on history. Okay, picture this for a second. Imagine you possess absolute, unchecked wealth. You hold the reins of this vast kingdom, and you're offered a shimmering, magnificent palace made entirely out of solid gold. I mean, the promise attached to this offer is incredibly alluring, right? Accept this, and your fame is guaranteed for eternity. People are going to marvel at your wealth and whisper your name long after you're gone. It's the ultimate test of ego and power. So, what would you build with unlimited gold? Let's step back in time and see exactly how our historical figure handled this exact scenario when faced with that ultimate temptation.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the golden temptation.
So the story kicks off when the king is suddenly approached by his highest-ranking ministers. Now, these are the guys whose entire job is basically to secure the prestige and outward dominance of the crown. And they didn't just come to him with some vague, half-baked idea. They brought forward actual blueprints and just unimaginable treasures. They laid out this meticulous plan for a towering, magnificent structure constructed entirely of gold, designed specifically to shine brilliantly under the hot sun. Their goal was pretty simple: shock everyone with this unprecedented display of luxury so that literally no neighboring kingdom, no rival could ever doubt their immense power. And they actually bowed low and told him, "Your Majesty, this palace will make your name live forever." That single sentence perfectly captures their entire definition of legacy. Like, to them, greatness was purely physical and entirely superficial. They firmly believed that fame, vanity, and luxurious monuments were the ultimate goals of leadership. They were assuming, quite naturally I guess, based on the history of kings, that his primary concern was his own immortal reputation. They really thought this golden palace was the irresistible key to his ego. Which brings us to part two, a kingdom's harsh reality. Now, instead of celebrating these blueprints, the king does something completely unexpected. This moment brilliantly illustrates the massive disconnect going on in the royal court. While the ministers envisioned this towering golden palace and eternal fame, a vision totally disconnected from actual human needs, by the way, the king looked out and saw the harsh reality of his people. He didn't see his kingdom as a blank canvas for a golden monument. He saw hungry children. He saw poor families struggling to merely survive the winter. He saw weary travelers in desperate need of a safe haven. The contrast between the sheer vanity of the court and the vulnerability of the everyday citizens honestly couldn't be sharper. And that brings us to his response. The king looked at all that gold, all those elaborate blueprints, and quietly delivered a reply that absolutely shocked everyone in the room. He said, "A ruler is remembered by justice, not luxury." That single sentence flips the script entirely. He firmly refuses the golden palace, telling his advisors that a monument of gold is completely meaningless if the people living in its shadow are suffering. Boom. He completely shatters their illusion that greatness comes from what you build for yourself rather than what you do for others. So let's look at part three, how lives were improved. You know, it's one thing to drop a profound quote, but it's entirely another to take decisive action. And this king? He immediately issued clear, uncompromising directives. Feed the hungry, help the poor, build schools. There's no vanity here at all, only a deep sense of responsibility. By issuing these orders, he forced a massive, immediate shift in the kingdom's vast resources. He pulled all that wealth away from a useless luxury project and directed it straight into the most fundamental human needs of his citizens, completely transforming how the government operated overnight. Let's break down exactly what that looks like on the ground, because this is exactly how he improved lives. Instead of a sprawling golden palace, which is really just a giant shiny paperweight, workers and builders were reassigned to create life-changing infrastructure. The redirected wealth built deep wells to provide clean, reliable water to drought-stricken villages. It built safe homes to shelter vulnerable families from the elements. It funded schools to educate the youth and fully staffed hospitals to treat the sick. He took a passive, shiny metal meant for one man's ego and turned it into active, life-sustaining resources for thousands. When you actually map out the anatomy of this decision, the contrast in value is just incredible. The proposed luxury, a palace of gold, would have served literally one person.
It would have been a cold, empty monument. But by choosing actual, practical investments like wells, homes, and schools, the resulting impact was profound. The people smiled, they genuinely loved their king, and they prayed for him out of pure gratitude. The return on investment for justice was infinitely higher than the return on investment for luxury. The wealth wasn't hoarded, it was activated.
And this brings us to a really profound realization. The people loved their king not because he was impossibly rich, but because he actually cared. And this matters deeply to us today, doesn't it? In our modern world, we so often fall into the trap of thinking that wealth, status, or superficial success will somehow buy us respect or secure a lasting legacy. But this story proves that empathy, justice, and practical, hands-on care build a much stronger, enduring human connection than any mere display of wealth ever could. True loyalty is earned through service, not intimidation. Moving on to our final section, Part 4, the true measure of greatness. As our narrative winds down, the source material paints this beautiful picture of the king. He's not sitting on a golden throne demanding praise. He's praying humbly at sunset, and it makes a very clear distinction about legacy. False greatness is measured by palaces built, wealth accumulated, and, the superficial metrics the world often prioritizes. But true greatness, real wealth, isn't physical gold at all. True greatness is measured by the lives you improve. For the king, real wealth was about earning Allah's pleasure through impactful, compassionate, and incredibly humble leadership. And this entire perspective is rooted in a much deeper philosophical and religious foundation. The source provides a specific Quranic reminder from Surah An-Nahl, verse 90. Indeed, Allah commands justice and doing good. This perfectly encapsulates the king's motivation. He wasn't just being a nice guy for the sake of good PR, he was actively fulfilling a higher command. He prioritized justice over luxury because he believed it was his ultimate moral duty. It grounds his entire decision in a deep framework that values human dignity way over material wealth. So, as we reach the end of this incredibly inspiring story, I want to leave you with a direct challenge. Will you choose kindness over luxury today? How do you define your own legacy? Are you spending your time and energy building metaphorical golden palaces, or are you investing in the people around you? Think about how you can improve lives in your own sphere of influence, no matter how big or small. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and be sure to follow for more breakdowns just like this one.